Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's sometime in February.
And it almost snowed yesterday.
Almost did. It's been weird weather.
I
But
think it's
welcome
been great.
to episode 11, I believe. So we're trying some things a little bit differently. So our audio to us is a little delayed, but we're working on things. We're going to be able to share a video this time. We can both watch it together. But into the news today, USAID spending has been frozen.
Well, not only the spending, but the building was taken over by, what was it? Tom Holman's group.
Yeah.
ICE.
Also, the U.S. is going to take over the Gaza Strip.
I saw the funniest thing is, because we're going to take over the Gaza Strip, the first thing Trump's going to do is open a strip club called the Gaza Strip.
DOGE was added to the debt clock. So if you want to know how much they saved, check it out. Got some hostages released. I know that happened a little while ago, but we're going to talk about it. General government corruption. And then a monolith showed up again in the middle of nowhere. And we found Santa.
Santa has been found.
All right. So, USAID. What is the weirdest program you saw they were funding? I got a couple listed here.
I know there's so many of them. It's just so stupid.
What about $47,000 for transgender operations in Colombia?
Opera.
Oh, that's an opera. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Or
And
$2 million for sex changes in Guatemala.
I guess I would rather use what is the thing that ticked me off about what they found, the one that's the most. That's got to be the funding of the NGOs in the U.S. to facilitate and care for illegals. And we're paying for it.
Yeah, it's
Catholic charities, all these different groups.
there's a whole network because you've got USAID would give funds to organization A, and then they would give funds to organization B, and that would give funds to organization C that actually do the things.
Which is called money laundering.
Yes. 100%.
And it's the Republicans and the Democrats. They've known about it for years.
I would say yes, but most of the funds go to Democratic organizations.
To liberal organizations, but
Correct.
we have very liberal Republican senators and congressmen.
This is going to fix that.
We can hope.
With what Trump and Elon are doing with the government, I fully expect that there's not going to be a blue wave in 2 years. And it's not because the Republicans have become so much more popular. It's because the Democrats don't have funding for their machine.
Correct. I agree.
It's going to be fun.
Well, and plus they're fighting against these stupid things. They're saying, oh, we've got to have this. It's like, perfect. Take those clips, run them against them in the election.
Yeah. Yes. It's, who was it I was listening to? One of the Democratic comedians or commentators, they were talking about on their podcast, why are we supporting the 20% when 80% of the public support the other side? That's how you lose. And that's what they're doing.
Yeah. I listened to a Democrat last night that said, if it's 80-20, shut up and take the win.
Yes.
Because you can't win on that. It's stupid. And this was a Democrat saying that. Just shut up and take the win.
Well, the thing is, the majority of Americans want their tax dollars spent somewhat well, at least on something that is reasonable, and they want to know about where you're spending it. And what the Democrats are saying is, don't look. we can spend it wherever we want and don't look at it. And that's not anyone in America wants.
And I can't remember which Democrat in the Senate said this week. They said there's nothing in the Constitution that says that people get to know where their money goes.
That's so dumb.
Like, let's... yeah.
Yeah. It's dumb. It's dumb. All right. So that's USAID. If you want to look more into it, the best place to find information is go follow at DOGE on X, or a wide array of people on X. They're posting constantly about it because they're still finding stuff. It's been interesting.
And there's a website that an ex-person, I don't know who it is, put up. And
do you want to skip to here?
Well, that's just fits with what we're talking about.
Yeah. So let me.
You can search. Here's an interesting thing. You mentioned the octopus way of money laundering.
Yes.
This website, which is going to be up on our links to our podcast, shows how intertangled and everything is. The red and the other colors, the pink and the different ones, they're the ones with the most egregious in just this one example. So if you look in here, Rhode Island Community Foundation, right where you're at there,
yep.
Zoom in. They received $12 million from taxpayers. Look at the UPMC group, $153 million.
Mm-hmm.
And you can go through and look at all of these different towns.
Well, and something I want to point out is you can see that their gross is much larger than the taxpayer funds. Here's the thing to remember. Gross doesn't matter, it's net matters. So if your gross is $194 million, but without taxpayer funds, your net is a zero.
Or negative.
That $12 million goes directly into the people running the organization's pockets.
But the most outrageous thing about on these charts is some of them are zero except for the taxpayer funds. So it's totally, completely funded.
So like Politico got a lot of money from subscriptions, and they're just saying, oh, it was just a business expense. And they're like, we make $200 million top line, and we only receive $1 million a year from these subscriptions.
8 million.
No, it's $1 million a year. So the 8 million was over like 8-year period.
Oh, was it? Okay.
So it's $1 million a year. And the thing that if you don't think about it right, you'd be like, oh, that's not much. But what's their net? As a news organization, they're not terribly profitable. So that $1 million gets to be split up between all the execs. So they're getting a $200,000 check per year from the government because no one else is going to pay $12,000 per subscription.
It was insane when it came out. Click on charity funding.
Okay. Nope.
You can do voter analysis, charity funding.
There you go.
And some of this stuff is
percent contribution.
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Like WIXIM, what is that? But it's 100% funded by the taxpayers.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So this is what I mean. I don't think that I was surprised when Kamala and Biden's campaign could raise so much funds for a completely brain dead person. Well, now we know why.
Yeah.
It came from the government. George Soros was funded through USAID, and he funded all kinds of organizations and people and campaigns. He's still a billionaire, but he's not going to have as much money to play with.
Like, why would we 100% fund the Peaceful Chateau Apartments, Inc.?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It's a mess.
So anyhow, this is a website if you want your blood pressure to go up. Just go out and click.
Make my blood pressure go up. So the way I look at it, I enjoy politics. And the way I enjoy it, it's like a poorly scripted reality TV show. I can't control anything that goes on. I'll vote, I'll say things, I'll do a podcast, but in reality, I sit back and watch the ridiculousness.
So we are in Utah. So click on federal grant search.
Okay.
And then just put in Utah.
Yep, lots of money. Lots and lots of money.
Go back up. Down one.
So trillion?
Billion.
There's a billion? Yeah.
Yeah, 4 billion sent to Utah.
That's not surprising. Yep, we get lots of money. It's not surprising because we need to get the federal government smaller.
Yeah.
The states, several states, and a lot of states rely on government funding for things, which is dumb.
And just pick one of those showing possible matchings. Didn't matter which one.
Oh, okay.
So see, it goes through and tries to link who actually ended up with the money.
Yeah. So, interesting.
Like I said, you need your blood pressure up.
Go find things.
Yes.
Go find
And this is
things.
not a government-funded website. This is some person or persons that put this together.
Yeah. So what's up next? We've got... Oh, we'll watch this little video from our great and illustrious president about the Gaza Strip. And we're going to talk about it. So, let me get this restarted.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. Do a real job, do something different. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years. The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip.
That's it. So this was a fun announcement. There's a lot of people upset about it and also like, what? So what are your thoughts?
This is typical Trump troll.
Yes.
He is the largest troll, I think, ever in existence. And he does it for a reason.
Yes, he does.
So when he announced this, everybody's having a cow.
Oh, yeah.
Because we don't want boots on the ground. And I agree, we don't want boots on the ground. But the day after he announced this, Jordan and Egypt stepped up and said, no, wait. We'll clean it up. We'll take care of it.
So the thing people needed to know, and they should probably actually read his book. This is Trump's book.
Okay.
This is a negotiation tactic called the Big Ask, where you make a massive ask that you're actually willing to do, because negotiation doesn't work if you're just bluffing all the time. But realizing that you're probably not going to do it because you're going to be able to use it as a negotiation point. This is what happened with the tariffs. This is what happens all the time with him. Is to go in and say, we're going to do this because this is what needs to happen. And no one else is going to do it. And then other people, like you said, are going to be like, oh, we'll do that for you.
We don't want the U.S. to have a foothold, so therefore we'll do it. And that's exactly what Jordan and Egypt came out. The day after this.
It's wonderful.
Yes,
and it's been hilarious to watch the mainstream media get all up in airs about it. When they did that about tariffs and then they went away and he got what he wanted. And now he's just baiting them so hard. It's the best.
Whether you like Trump or not, you should just listen to what he says, give it 10 days.
Yes.
And see what happens in those 10 days. And most of the time, all of this absolutely silly, ridiculous, out of this world stuff just goes away because somebody else steps up and goes, we don't want you doing that.
Yep, that's true. It's very true. So it'll be interesting to see. I do agree with him that it can't go back to the way it was. Hamas can't be there. The Palestinians shown that they can't live there peacefully with anyone. And so it behooves the neighbors of Israel to take them.
And they haven't wanted to take them up until now.
Well, he's going to force them
Yes,
to.
he is. And that's the good thing.
So, and people are complaining, well, that's their land. Well, if you know how history works, land belongs to the conqueror. That's always how it's been, and it will always how it will be. It happened here in the U.S., the Native Americans, they conquered each other. Then the Europeans came in and conquered them. Land belongs to the conquered, a conqueror.
Well, and Israel actually took over the Gaza Strip and gave it back, which I don't understand.
Well, it's political.
Yeah, no, it is, but I still don't get it because it's a higher elevation than Israel proper, and so they can lob rockets over, which I don't.
Yeah,
anyhow,
it doesn't make sense.
no, it doesn't.
So, on to some other positive things that I think he's doing. Besides ending one war, looks like he's got a path to end a second war. But in the meantime, he's got hostages back. Which
and nobody
hostage?
even knew about these guys. No one.
So, Venezuela and hostages.
I heard last night on the news that these 6 men had never had a welfare check from the U.S. Embassy. Every prisoner, hostage, or anything like that is supposed to have a welfare check at a specific interval. These guys never had a single welfare check.
Do you know why that is?
Because our previous puppet didn't care.
It's more than that. It's the way he treated world leaders. So he took the current American political atmosphere, where if your opponent, you don't ever talk to your opponent, you don't negotiate with your opponent, you just belittle and call them names. That's not how negotiations work on the world stage. He did that with Maduro. Instead of what Trump would do and say, you're my adversary, but I'm going to talk to you.
Yeah. Well, and right after they released these hostages, the State Department in, I think it was Cuba, impounded Maduro's airplane that he had stole from one of the, when they nationalized the oil companies, he took one of their planes and he impounded it just this couple days ago, I think it was, or yesterday.
Yep.
And it was interesting.
Well, Trump does things with a reason to negotiate. Venezuela has tons of oil. They could be a really successful country if they didn't have communism.
Correct.
And so I think Trump's going to work on them.
Well, still blows me away. This was not, no one heard about this. That's what blows me away about this. We should have. These 6 Americans in hostages, basically, and nobody heard about it.
Well, yeah, and so this goes another story that's similar. The Biden administration knew they were there and did nothing.
Correct.
That's essentially it.
Correct.
The same thing happened with illegal immigrants. We had 300,000 kids go missing in the United States, and the Biden administration did nothing. Within 5 days of Tom Holland doing his job, he found 87,000 of them. That means those were not hard to find.
Well, it's just like the murderers and rapists that they're arresting. In the few couple of days, they've got all these really bad people. So that means everybody knew where they were.
Oh, yeah.
And they didn't care.
Nope.
That's the issue.
And it's sad. It's very sad.
Well, it's not just sad. It should have enraged. It doesn't matter if you're Democrat, Republican, Independent. Doesn't matter. It should enrage you that Biden's Justice Department and administration just looked the other way.
Didn't care.
With a murderer, a rapist, all these
Yeah.
horrible things. Child predators. They just ignored them.
They did. So Trump has been winning a lot. So he got these hostages. He got hostages from Hamas as well. I don't think there's any more U.S. hostages with Hamas, but I'm not 100% sure about that. It just shows that if you care at all, you can get things done. And the other point I'll make is you can't get things done through committee. You have to have individuals who go and get things done.
And the other thing about this that most people haven't heard, some of these hostages were held in a UN headquarters in Gaza.
Yeah.
And if anybody ever complains about us getting out of the UN, this needs to go forward.
Yes.
And be brought up over and over and over. We should defund the UN completely, not just pull out.
Well, we've already pulled out and defunded part of what
Correct.
we were doing with the UN.
We didn't want to be on the Human Rights Commission because of who was already on it.
Yes.
But we got to defund them, kick them out of the U.S., all of it.
Yes.
Just get rid of it. Yep.
Yep. I think it's going to happen.
I do too.
It's ridiculous. But, you know, it's been a fun, 2 to 3 weeks.
It's been a crazy.
And what's nice is Trump understands the media well enough that if he keeps on throwing crazy stuff at him day after day after day, they have no idea what to do.
Yeah, they can't handle it. Another thing that took place we don't have on our list was him signing the executive order that men cannot participate in women's sports, returning Title IX back to what it was intended to protect women's sports instead of doing away with women's sports entirely. And it was a big deal. And yet,
it's huge.
Yeah. Some of the news media, they couldn't deal with it.
No. See, this is my perspective. I don't think we need men's sports. We need women's sports. So I think there needs to be women's sports and then this level of excellence you have to meet, and then you can compete in this other sport. Does that make sense? So that means for football, basketball, all these physical sports, it's all going to be men because women can't compete. But for archery or firing guns or things like that, there could be the possibility that women could compete against men. And so you're really just looking for the best of the best and then women's sports.
I don't know how well that'd work, but it's fine to try. Now, the thing that's upsetting about this, go back to the
you want to go
Hamas
back here?
thing.
Yeah.
Okay, he was held nearly 500 days.
Yes,
That's
he was.
over a year, folks. It's almost 2 years.
Yep.
And most of the time, these hostages, I don't know about this particular one, most of the time these hostages were kept in tunnels or they were kept in dark and fed horrible, not basic care for them. Gaza has no right to exist. I'm sorry.
Now, the Hamas is... That's the problem. For political reasons, Israel and the surrounding companies have stoked the fires of this terrorist organization. And now it's mostly wiped out.
Not only stoked it, we funded it. You go back to the things that we go, and you can search for Hamas.
You can go find where Hamas got funding, yes. Well, if you go and look, we sent funding for aid to Gaza Strip and Palestinians. What most people don't understand is when the U.S. sends aid, they send it to the government. And the government's supposed to distribute it to the people. Did Hamas do that? No. Not at all. So what's our next story? So that was fun.
U.S. debt clock?
Yeah. So I think this is fun. If you've not looked at the debt clock, it is frightening, but also kind of awesome. So up here you've got the national debt, which is climbing at 50 to 70,000 per second. It's a lot. then you got debt per citizen, debt per taxpayer, official spending, official deficit, and then you've got the DOGE clock, which is added. Now, per Elon, I couldn't find this specific tweet, but I'd have to do some more searching. He said this is actually pretty accurate. So they've saved about 71 billion.
Yeah, billion
so far. His goal is 2 trillion, and at first I didn't think he'd make it, but I think where he's gonna make it, auditing the Pentagon, auditing Social Security, and auditing Medicaid, and getting rid of fraud in all three. And he's going to be able to balance the budget with that.
How can anyone, doesn't matter what side you're on, be mad at that?
Well, apparently people can.
Apparently they can.
Yeah, I think we should get rid of waste and fraud. That's my personal opinion. So I think that's what's going to happen, and I think you're going to see this number go green. And it'll be the first time in, 20, 30 years?
Since the 70s, I think. And that was they lied about how they did that. Largest budget items down there, they're the ones that you can, by cutting, obviously percentage-wise, make the biggest impact.
Yes. So this is going to go down with interest rates dropping, because Trump's going to push them to be dropped. And then waste and fraud and abuse, I think you're going to get rid of 20% of each of these. That's my guess, is 20% is waste and fraud. That's maybe conservative.
I bet it's closer to 50.
It could be.
I bet it's closer to 50.
But can you imagine these line items getting cut in half, or even just dropped by 20, 30%?
Yeah.
That would change all the things.
Yeah. Huge difference.
Huge. Massive.
One of the things that I know Elon's group's doing for Social Security, Social Security, is that they're looking for a single Social Security number that has multiple W-2s. And what they're going to do is, if this, because they have some that have 10 to 15, 20 jobs attached to one Social Security. Mm-hmm. You know it's fraud.
Oh, 100%.
You know it's fraud. And these are full-time jobs attached to one Social Security number. Yeah. So that's what they're doing right now, is just Social Security. They're just going to look up and see obvious fraud.
Well, the other thing is, if we had a better database, we can match better death certificates to Social Security recipients, because a lot of times people will purposely not report things so that they can keep me on getting paid. And yes, that's terrible, but yes, it happens.
That doesn't seem like a large budget item to me, percentage-wise. What's the percentage is just the outright fraud.
Oh, well, no, I'm saying these people keep...
I know. They keep getting Social Security numbers, but that's, $1,000 a month.
No, I'd say it's probably 1% of the fraud.
All right. Well, it'll be interesting. That's the first thing they're going after.
Yeah, they are.
The obvious fraud.
And they're going to look at the IRS, and what I wish they would do with the IRS is...
push it off a cliff?
Well, the problem is you have a lot of history, right? A lot of things they're looking back on historically for fraud. I wish they would say, maybe not make a public announcement, but we're not going to look at anything past X year, and we're going to become a customer service organization.
Now, the best customer service the IRS could ever do is tariffs pay for the government. They totally get rid of the IRS.
Well, they're not going to for a little while.
No, I agree.
And so if you can actually up their customer service game, because it's abysmal and terrible, that'd be amazing. Instead of taking 6 to 12 months for a notice that was wrong, sent out, responded to, and for them to fix, it should be within minutes.
Yeah. I got a notification a few years back, and it took me, 10, 11 months to get it corrected, and it was just wrong on their part. And I proved it to them, but it still took 10, 11 months.
Happens a lot.
Yeah.
This is the dumbest thing. All right, what other fun stories? Well, that's our serious side of things. So there's this monolith that showed up. How long ago? Like 3-4 years ago?
Yeah, it's been a long time. The first one was in Utah, and you can see it there.
Well, I haven't
It's
shared
in
the
Vegas.
screen with them
you don't
yet.
have share the screen.
There we go.
There we go. It's near Vegas.
Yep.
Nobody still knows who's putting them out, who's making them. Nothing.
It's really cool though. That'd be fun, wouldn't it? Get a bunch of friends together, find a middle of nowhere place, and go set random crap up for people to find.
Well, that's what they've done for the rest of them. Like the one here in Utah, they had to pack it in because the nearest road was like 4 miles from it. And so they had to pick it up in pieces
I'm sure
and pack
like
it in.
4 friends got
sure they
together, picked it up, and walked it
Yeah.
in.
And I'm sure that's the same with this one. That was
Yep.
just found there on Gas Peak.
Yeah, looks like it.
Yep.
In the I can't speak. Yep.
Nevada's
It's in that
Desert
place right there.
National
You can
Park.
read, right? I can't clearly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was in Utah, Romania, California, Spain, Wales, and Paraguay.
And now it's back in the U.S.
Yep. Sounds like fun. Should go find it if you're in Nevada. There you go. I said it. Nevada. And then they found Santa Claus.
Oh, yes, that's
Yeah,
the
they
other
found
one.
Santa Claus. No,
Oh,
that's a
gosh.
nice ad there.
That is
There
a
we go.
horrible
All right.
ad.
So, if you didn't know, the story of Santa Claus is based on Saint Nicholas,
Correct.
and they found him in Turkey.
They think.
They think. Yeah.
Right. He's beneath a mosaic.
That's the interesting thing about these old buildings from hundreds and hundreds of years ago. The people who have been taking care of them and using them haven't been really looking under or around or anything like that. And yes, oftentimes they just buried people under the floors. That used to be a thing with churches. But they also just built buildings on top of
Graveyards.
destroyed buildings and graveyards.
Yeah.
So that's kind of
And-
cool.
And a lot of times how they find these things is that the floor gets damaged. And
Yeah.
so they start try to repair the floor and there's a cavity or something. Yeah.
Yep. So they should bring those. I think they'll have those like X-ray machines that they can do sound stuff in the ground. They
Yeah.
should just come in there and do the whole floor, find what you can find.
Well, see, they found a shrine beneath the floor.
Yeah.
And so it's, like I said, normally it gets damaged. They start trying to put it back together and there's a hole.
So now you can tell your kids they found Santa.
That's right.
And he
He's-
wasn't at the North Pole.
Correct.
He was in Turkey. What was he doing in Turkey? Who knows? He's dead. Terrible.
He doesn't know.
I'm terrible. I'm mean.
Anyhow.
But I think that's all the stories we had for today.
Yeah.
Government corruption is being uncovered, and I think that's a positive. Any last words before we sign off?
Elon and company, keep doing what you're doing.
Please do.
Don't slow down.
Keep having fun.
Yep,
Finding the things. It's good stuff.
it is.
Well, we'll see you in a couple weeks. Enjoy. Check us out. Our Twitter handles are in the links below, and also links to this story are down below. So leave a like, subscribe, and thank you.